Most people think Santa Claus is a harmless holiday mascot, a jolly man in a red suit who brings presents and cheer. But what if the real Santa wasn't just a gift giver, but a warrior bishop who confronted demons, rescued children, shattered pagan temples, defended the deity of Christ, and fought darkness with a courage that shook empires? What if everything you thought you knew about Santa was actually a disguise, hiding one of the most powerful spiritual warriors in Christian history? This is the story the world forgot, the Santa that Satan wants you to never hear. Let's begin. What if the jolly Santa we know today wasn't just a gift giver in a red suit, but a real-life bishop who stood firm against the forces of darkness? In this video, we'll uncover the true story of Saint Nicholas of Myra, the man behind the myth. Drawing from Christian tradition and historical testimony, we'll explore how his life of faith, courage, generosity, and supernatural encounters inspired the Santa legend. The real Saint Nicholas lived in the 4th century in what is now Turkey, an age of Roman persecution, famine, and spiritual turmoil. Born around 270 AD to devout Christian parents, his name meant victory of the people, a fitting prophecy for the battles to come. Early Christian writers described Nicholas as a man who understood the invisible war. He fought evil with generosity, truth, and unshakable faith, mirroring Ephesians 6:12. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers, rulers of darkness, and spiritual wickedness in high places. If this already challenges what you thought you knew about Santa, hit that like button to help spread the real story, and stay as we reveal the warrior behind the myth. Nicholas's parents died young during a deadly epidemic, leaving him with both inheritance and calling. Raised by his uncle, a bishop, he immersed himself in prayer and scripture. Under Emperor Diocletian, Christians were beaten, tortured, and imprisoned. Tradition says Nicholas suffered alongside them, refusing to deny Christ. When Constantine granted freedom, Nicholas walked out of prison with scars that testified to his faith. Instead of keeping his wealth, Nicholas obeyed Jesus' command in Matthew 19:21, "Sell your possessions and give to the poor." This act launched his lifelong war against the spiritual powers of poverty, despair, and oppression. In 325 AD, Nicholas attended the Council of Nicaea to confront Arianism, a doctrine denying the divinity of Christ. If Christ were not fully God, Christianity would collapse. Tradition says Nicholas confronted Arius directly. Some accounts even say he struck him. For this, he was briefly imprisoned, until a vision restored him. As Paul warned, some doctrines are indeed teachings of demons. Nicholas defended the truth fiercely. Imagine the world if Arius had prevailed. A diminished Christ could not conquer sin or death. Nicholas came to Nicaea not as a polite theologian, but as a guardian, defending the incarnation itself. Jesus Christ, God of God, light of light, true God from true God. Nicholas helped shape the Nicene Creed, a statement of victory forged in spiritual warfare. One of Nicholas's greatest acts saved 3 daughters from exploitation. Their father was too poor for dowries, an ancient sentence of ruin. Secretly, across 3 nights, Nicholas threw bags of gold into their home. His anonymous generosity saved their lives and birthed the tradition of Christmas stockings. Tradition says Nicholas wrestled in prayer before acting, seeking a way to preserve the family's dignity. Real spiritual warfare often looks like quiet compassion, fighting not only poverty, but the shame and despair darkness uses to destroy homes. As Proverbs teaches, whoever is kind to the poor honors God. Nicholas honored God by battling evil with mercy. A chilling medieval tradition tells of a wicked innkeeper who murdered 3 boys during famine, hiding them in a barrel to sell as meat. When Nicholas discovered the crime, he prayed, and God raised the children to life, revealing Nicholas as protector of the innocent. Tradition says Nicholas sensed evil before he saw it. Early Christians believed he carried a gift of discernment, a presence that made darkness tremble. Wherever Nicholas walked, the works of the enemy were exposed. It echoes Jesus' words that the angels of children behold the Father's face. Nicholas became that guardian on earth. Nicholas was known as the patron of sailors for good reason. Ancient accounts tell of desperate mariners caught in violent storms, crying out to God through Nicholas's intercession, and suddenly the winds calmed and the seas grew still. These miracles echo Jesus himself, stilling the storm in Mark 4:39, showing God's sovereign power over chaos and the unseen forces that stir destruction. Sailors spread his fame across ports, carrying stories of divine rescue. But Nicholas didn't stop at calming nature. He boldly confronted pagan strongholds, like the great temple of Artemis in Myra, a center of idol worship where dark influences held sway. Tradition says evil spirits fled before him as he prayed, and the temple itself collapsed under the power of God. This aligns with scripture in 1 Corinthians 10:20, reminding us that idols are backed by demons. Nicholas's actions freed people from spiritual bondage, replacing fear with faith. His courage showed that true power belongs to Christ alone, not to false gods or the unseen forces behind them. Through these victories over storms and spirits, Nicholas proved that no force, seen or unseen, can stand against the authority of God. His life became a living testimony that the same power that raised Christ breaks every chain of darkness. Nicholas died in 343 AD on December 6th. Soon, his tomb was said to exude a sweet liquid called manna or Myra. When his relics were moved to Bari in 1087, the phenomenon continued. This fragrant substance is collected annually on May 9th, believed by many to bring healing and protection, recalling 2 Kings 13:21, where contact with the prophet's bones brought life. Across continents, believers testified to Nicholas's intercession, deliverance from storms, reconciled families, healing and protection. His influence spanned empires. He became a spiritual lighthouse in a dark world, pointing every eye back to Christ. His legacy shaped nations and inspired generations. As centuries passed, Nicholas became known as Santa Claus in Holland, as well as many other names globally, including Father Christmas, UK, Père Noël, France, Der Weihnachtsmann, Germany, Sinterklaas, Netherlands, Papai Noel, Brazil, Portugal, and Ded Moroz, Russia. Eventually, he also became Santa Claus in America. But culture slowly stripped away his Christ-centered identity, replacing sacrifice with consumerism and indulgence. In the 1800s, poems like A Visit from St. Nicholas and artists like Thomas Nast softened his image into a cheerful gift-bringer. By the 20th century, companies like Coca-Cola cemented the jolly red-suited figure we know, turning a symbol of selfless faith into a marketing icon that drives holiday spending. Storytellers softened him, corporations remade him. A warrior of faith became a harmless mascot. A symbol of generosity became a billboard for buying more. It was one of the enemy's greatest distractions, burying a spiritual warrior beneath holiday glitter. This echoes Colossians chapter 3, verse 5's warning against greed as idolatry, shifting focus from Christ's gift of salvation to temporary things. But the real Nicholas still stands, unchanged, uncompromising, and fiercely devoted to Christ. St. Nicholas calls us to fight evil not with the world's weapons, but with faith, generosity, humility, and truth, just as 2 Corinthians 10:4 teaches. Like him, give secretly to those in need, perhaps supporting a family's hardships, feeding the hungry, helping the homeless be protected from the cold, or protecting the vulnerable as he did with children and the poor. Defend biblical truth boldly yet humbly, standing against falsehoods that distort the gospel. Let your generosity point others to Christ, the ultimate gift who gave everything for us. This Christmas, imitate him, give quietly, defend boldly, protect the vulnerable. Let his legacy ignite your own quiet victories in the unseen war. St. Nicholas was and is real. If this uncovered the real warrior behind Santa and stirred your faith, like this video, subscribe for more hidden biblical truths and share it with someone who needs to reclaim the true spirit of Christmas. God bless you as you walk in Nicholas's footsteps.
Cheers.